and welcome to this edition of EMS Now Up Close. I am Eric Miskell with EMS Now, and it's my pleasure today to speak once again with Joel Scutchfield. He's the General Manager of SMT Business Operations and Director of Sales with Koh Young America.
A lot of
Welcome.
words, right?
Yeah, that's. I was just going to say general manager, but I think the full title is very impressive, and it really speaks to the scope of what you cover there. So,
It does.
yeah. But welcome. Listen, Joe, you recently wrote a piece providing your opinion on what electronic manufacturing trends might be in 2023. I found this to be an interesting read and just wanted to explore a couple of those trends with you here today.
Sure, absolutely. Very happy to be here. Good
Yeah.
to see you, as always.
Yeah. And now listen, and before I start, I'll just say too, for the audience, a lot of these topics, as this industry is, are so interrelated. It's hard sometimes to separate them out very cleanly and talk just about one versus the other because they all kind of blend together. But
More now than ever, right?
yeah, exactly. So I will just advise the audience, after this, if you're interested, find what Joel has written and you can read it in its full context there. But and you'll see why it's challenging to do what we're about. Listen, let's start at the very beginning. And I like this because the element or trend that you chose to begin with had to do what was called kind of the voice of the customers and what you're hearing about customer backlogs and what's to come in next year. Tell us about that.
Sure, absolutely. We obviously have a intent interest in knowing as much as we can about what 2023 is going to bring. There's been so much talk of recession and interest rates and just things going on around the world, the situation in Eastern Europe, just a lot of post-COVID hangover elements that are potentially dragging on everybody's business, depending on the sector you're in and where you typically play. So gathering that information is something that we've tried to put a lot of emphasis on, especially over the last 3 to 4 months as things have developed. The good news is that what I've found in doing this and what our team has found is that most people on the customer side, that is, are optimistic. And in talking with many at the recent show in Minneapolis and in other venues before and since, it seems that everyone has, again, a fairly optimistic view. The sales are there, the bookings are there. Some customers have fairly significant backlogs that they're still trying to work through. And they really don't have a lot of concern with regards to all of this talk of slowdown and recession, et cetera, at least at this point.
Yeah.
Now, they qualify that with, certainly it could change if orders start to drop out potentially. But their biggest concern really wasn't so much that as it was still being able to get parts, which seems to be yet an ongoing thing. And I guess maybe even somewhat of a new normal, at least for the foreseeable future. We've seen that ebb and flow, and we see reports about easing, and then we see or hear customers talk about the fact that they've bought up years worth of inventory at this point to be able to sustain. So you kind of see both extremes, but at the end of the day, I think most customers are optimistic. Most customers are planning to be able to to weather the storm and really feel like, because of the kind of products that we're building, at least here in the Americas, and maybe more coming with the nearshoring activities that are ongoing, that this puts us in a place where we will be less affected by really anything that would happen on a global scale.
Right. Yeah, and I want to kind of dive into that a bit. And what you're saying is also consistent with I just did the tour of Europe, toured all these EMS. Everybody was talking about kind of strong books, kind of a strong backlog, we'd push them a bit. Is there any hot air in there? What do you think? And they say, yeah, there's probably, but generally the sentiment, I think, in Europe when I was there was also very positive.
Yeah, it's another area that I think will be okay.
Yeah. And you made an interesting comment in there. I think, and it says the sectors in which companies operate may well dictate their fortunes in 2023 and beyond. So let's talk about some of those
Sure.
those sectors that you see and where you see kind of uh, gives you the optimism for 2023. And as you said, what is being done here in the Americas?
Sure. Well, the old saying, follow the money, right? And when you take a look at the sectors in particular that are being funded right now, such as EV, green energy with solar, advanced packaging, et cetera, et cetera. There are some hidden gems, if you will, that are certainly driving a lot of everyone's business right now on the supply side. And we see that certainly continuing into 2023 with, again, in particular, EV, the mass need for infrastructure, for charging stations, both publicly and privately, the cloud-based processing, data center needs, further expansion of 5G. It's really amazing when you start to peel the onion and look at everything that's involved in each of those segments. It has far lurking ramifications, I guess, if I can use that term. And then mil aero we know is something that we see continuing to be very strong. There was talk of record spend from the U.S. government anyway in 2023 for mil aero applications with everything going on around the world.
Yeah.
The whole smart factory initiative, I think, is something that will continue to drive as well as we're starting to kind of move into, I guess, phase 2 on that cycle, if you will, or that progression. But then you get into other things. I touched on advanced packaging. I think that's going to take a little bit longer because of the infrastructure needs and the needs for people to be able to address all the needs of that particular world, which is a little bit different than our standard SMT world. Actually, quite a bit different than our standard SMT world. So there's challenges there, but we talk about things like virtual reality, augmented reality, and everything that comes along with that. Smart home, smart fitness, smart building. Some of this, which does tie back to some of the green initiatives, the cameras on the automotive front. When we talk about the needs for autonomous driving and the number of cameras that are going to be available, segueing EV from standard personal cars and automotive, as we think of it, into the commercial side and the agricultural side. And then, finally, healthcare, personalized healthcare, where now we're looking at moving the hospital to the home and all of the elements, wearables, et cetera, that will be needed. So, those kind of products seem to be very much so in high demand for the next several years and maybe beyond. Yeah. So, if you're playing in those areas, I think you're in a good space, and again, should be fairly well protected from some of the outside forces that would potentially drag when a recession is in place. And again, whether we see that to the degree that some prognosticators are advising is yet to be seen. I think there's an equal number on both sides that say, yes, it's going to be a problem. No, it's not going to be a problem, at least for the U.S. Mexican market.
Right. And for the record, neither Joel or I are economists, and we don't play one on
no.
TV. So.
yeah.
So don't bet on, and noticeably, you're talking to the electrification of the world, really, right? And how ubiquitous everything has become, and just sensors and everywhere you go, all of the smart buildings, right, that are turning lights on and off, heat up and down, opening. It's everywhere. It's just
all of these things, the robotics, the kiosks that we're seeing. I mean, we're stepping outside outside of the electronics manufacturing world. Now, just think about, companies like Walmart and the billions they're investing in basically humanless systems, right, for their customers to utilize, and kind of goes over to the to the people shortage topic, which I know we're not necessarily here to talk about today, but again, the electronics content, robotics. When we're talking about a place like Amazon that from what I understand has about 200% turnover per year in their warehouse structure, they have to automate, right? More robotics, more automated, vehicles moving pieces, moving packages. All of that requires some element of electrical content, PCB content. So all of that, I think, is really good for our industry, and again, we feel helps to insulate us a bit from some of those outside forces.
And you touched on one, you're calling it the e-vehicles, but that's part of the greater kind of universe of e-mobility and all that's included there, right?
Correct.
Vehicles of all kinds, but then also the infrastructure and the battery, all the charging stations and all that, right?
Exactly. It's almost like, equivalent to the power grid replacement. You think about what things like Elon Musk has proposed and Bezos or Amazon, they're basically planning to replace the power structure, the power grid, not fix what we have. We're taking it a whole new direction, and kind of starting from what they're creating and building on it from there, and everybody else is jumping on, and at some point that basically takes over for what we now know is our power grid. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah. And I just want to, before we move on, is just make the comment too, noticeably absent in everything, all the sectors we've just talked about are the 3 C's that are primarily associated, right? The consumer primarily, but consumer, computer, and communications, a lot of that high volume type stuff that's generally associated with more Asia-based manufacturing now. And what we're talking about are really more kind of a higher mix, low to medium volume type products that are being made here.
Yeah, again, I think when we talk about what we've just alluded to, it's really more it's more infrastructure. It's more again on the EV side, both automotive and infrastructure. But certainly the forecast for PCs, tablets, cell phones are going to be down a bit for a while. Those certainly play into that consumer world that could very well be impacted by any type of a global recession. Most likely, very much will. So again, with our customer base, the content of product that they produce being more geared toward the former in terms of our conversation, again. You can kind of now see why I made that comment, and again, a lot of that's coming from the people we talk to and the research that we do as well.
Yeah. So, and the term, you've said it a few times, so I just want to dive into a bit, is increased automation, right? I mean, that's one of the trends that you're talking about for next year in the article you wrote. Talk about that, and it's about post reflow automation.
Well, yeah, there's really 2 elements to that, and I didn't get into it heavily in the piece, but standard PCB assembly line, we all know is already very automated for the most part, right? And when we get post reflow, again, traditional PCB assembly, there's not a lot left to be done, right? You're going to typically do an in-circuit test of some sort. Maybe a functional test or a burn-in, but in many cases that board then basically goes right in a box, and it goes to the end user, somebody that's going to put that into the next level assembly. Yeah. So what I'm referring to is that it's the next level assembly, the back end. Obviously, on the PCB front, post reflow, we potentially still have selective solder and post selective for inspection, which we're addressing, but really talking about things related to, again, that next level assembly, whether it be some kind of box build or modularization, using that PCB content. And and now being able to help relieve the inspection needs of that piece to the line, which is very diverse and very sorted. And you've been in many factories all over the world. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Some companies are taking it upon themselves to create their own internal automation divisions, or really partner with local integrators to try to take that on specific to the products that they're building and customize accordingly. So, we have to be prepared to play as a piece in that, in all likelihood, right? Our systems, our technology will lend itself to basically being, in a perfect world, a kind of a plug and play piece to that machine, where again, now the line becomes a single machine, right? Any piece of that fully automated line goes down, the line is down, the machine, if you will, quote unquote, is down. So I think that's the direction we're going, and we have technology that will lend itself very well to that, with the machining inspection system that we came out with several years ago. So the challenge now is to just really adapt that to the needs of the back end process proper, and I think you'll see and hear more from us on that as time goes on.
Yeah. And that's an excellent point, because even as you automate all of those functions, the manufacturer still has to guarantee the quality of it, right? And so that's what it has to be tested somewhere in that process still.
It absolutely does. And again, it's being done now, but for the most part, it's either being done manually, which is becoming much harder and harder to rely on. Again, when we speak to the human element and the challenges of utilizing that going forward, but also, or potentially also, I should say, with some type of a 2D inspection, right? Presence, absence. What we bring to the table, as you know, is that third dimension capability. So what you'll see from a Koh Young offering in that world will be the full 3D capability that we're known for. So measurement based, with that third dimension fully in play, and benefiting the outcome of that test, making it much more reliable.
Yeah. And that should portend well for 2023 then for you, because I think about, I don't want to be overly judgmental here, but when I think about North American manufacturing, what I've seen more advanced manufacturing, more automated lines elsewhere in the world. So I think there's a great opportunity within North America to truly, and that's the trend, right? As you're talking about, investing more in that automation, make it a lot more automated, so we can continue to be competitive in a lot of
absolutely. And I think we still have some opportunities on the PCB line proper side of things, if you will, Eric, also with things like pre-reflow inspection and dispense process inspection, which are two areas that we're really putting a lot of focus on right now. We've had discussions in the past. The pre-reflow to me is really, I like to call it low-hanging fruit. It seems like it's the next obvious place to be able to give yourself as a customer a huge potential payback, reduction in cost, and improvement in yield by confirming prior to forming that solder joint, after which is immensely expensive, or certainly much more so than prior to fix, for catching anomalies with regards to presence, absence of parts, part number, part marking, polarity, all of those things that, again, we can confirm pre-reflow. And on top of that, we mix in the smart factory element, and being able to, from that particular inspection point in the line, now feed information back to the mounter for anomalies related to all of those defects that I just spoke of, in addition to XY position. So if we're seeing drift or issues with placement, we can now help self-correct from that inspection point. And likewise with the dispense process, the ability to do full three-dimensional thickness measurement on materials like conformal coating of all kinds, underfill, potting, etc., is a huge meter mover in terms of back-end quality and quality verification, much of which is being done manually now. And I'm talking about the thickness piece. Coverage with 2D hasn't necessarily been a huge challenge, up to this point, but certainly when you're now talking about measurement and thickness of those materials, that again is a meter mover. That's a game changer, and that's what we bring to the table with our Neptune system, to be able to do that at production speed. So there's opportunity, and there's certain avenues that we're those two in particular, along with the through-hole inspection, post-selective, are certainly avenues that we're looking to grow significantly in 2023. Yeah. We're hearing the calling for that. We're seeing the movements to gravitate toward those initiatives.
And I would also say with that move to more automation, and even on the post reflow side, and as you indicated, a lot of those companies are doing it within their own internal industrial groups, but those aren't testing specialists, right?
They're not.
And that's where your value add still kind of plays into it. They may do their industrial and create the boxes and use the robotics and get it all, but the testing piece isn't there.
Correct. That's absolutely right. And that's why I said we need to somehow, first and foremost, try to be plug and play with what they're doing in that world, in that environment. And who knows down the road, we've never been overly keen on providing our probe, if you will, our sensor, our technology to someone else to incorporate into a system like that. But let's see what happens. Let's see how the market develops, and if there is a significant market, a significant need, who knows? Those are typically drivers, as we say in in the product analysis world, so product planning world. So never say never, but I think the initial approach will be how do we fit what we have from that particular technology aspect into the needs of those back-end applications.
Yeah, no, exactly. And listen, I would be remiss if I let you go if I didn't acknowledge what 2022 meant for Koh Young. It was your 20-year anniversary, and I noted also that that also was the installation of the 20,000. Did I say that? 20,000th.
There you go.
Inspection machine globally.
That's
And
correct.
You installed nearly 500 systems in the Americas alone.
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal year, on top of 2021, which was a great year. Back-to-back record years for us, for Koh Young America in the Americas, but also back-to-back record revenue years for Koh Young at the global level. So exciting times, certainly, and we have growth projections. We have a goal to continue to grow going forward significantly, and we're continuing to develop new products and apply the technology where we can to provide the avenue for that. And I think that's really the key, and that's the exciting part about all of this. Through that, and coupled with the potential growth of the industry for all the reasons we talked about earlier, it feels like a really good place to be. So we're certainly happy where we're at. We're happy with how things have progressed through 2021 and 2022, and certainly looking forward to 2023 and another strong campaign. It won't be easy. It never is, but we're up to the challenge.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think the numbers and the success, it's the challenge is to sustain that. And but the issues we've been talking about today, which is why the trends that you're talking to, I think, are the real drivers for the industry as we move forward here in North America. And I think these are all kind of well thought out, well presented, and I know we didn't touch on all of them. So again, to the audience, please go out there and take a look at what Joel wrote. I think you'll find it interesting. Um, uh, Listen, continued success. You will be at, let's just put a plug in there, at Apex in a month.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are we're ready to roll, as they say. We're counting the days at this point. It's literally right around the corner. So be here before you know it. And I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to hopefully a very strong showing. I think there's a lot of pent up interest after the last couple of years. Even with last year's show, still being COVID affected, masks, et cetera, limited travel by many companies. It was not the norm by any means, but we certainly expect this year to be better than what we knew is the norm. Hoping that all of those folks that haven't traveled in the last 2 years to a show like this will come and see us. So we're very excited, and I appreciate the well wishes. We'll take that whenever we can get it. And
well, I will see you in San Diego for sure. I plan to be there, so we'll come by and see what's happening there. But
absolutely, please.
Yeah, but listen, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I wish you, your family, and the entire Koh Young family, a happy and festive holiday season.
Well, thank you very much for that, Eric. That's very nice of you, and likewise to you and your family. Safe and happy holidays, and to your entire audience. Let's hope for good enough weather to travel for those who are going to, and safe journeys for all, and a little bit of rest. We all probably need a little bit of that too before we crank it up again at Apex. As we said, just a little over a month away.
Exactly.
And it's always a pleasure to join you, Eric. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me. And we're always open to talking with you anytime.
Good. Well, we'll be catching up with you next year a few times, I'm sure. So, Joel, again, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Happy holidays.